All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Roofing Operating System podcast. We got a celebrity in the building, man. We are pumped up. We got Tom Reber in the house. All right, he's fighting the good fight, baby. We love it, man. Founder of the Contractor Fight and Contractor Fight TV. Let's go. And hey, he's also an author of Winning the Contractor Fight and also Sell Unafraid, man. So we got a big dog in the building. We appreciate you joining us, Tom. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Nick. How are you, man?
Hey, let's go, man. Living the dream, man. I'm ready to drop some bombs with you. I know you're fighting the good fight, right? And I was born in a family of tradesmen, right? My dad was an electrician. His brother was a custom home builder. My uncle was a plumber. You name it, right?
Yeah.
So I love my contractors, and I know you do too. I know you're a contractor who also loves fighting this fight. What does this fight really mean to you? What battles are these guys fighting that we're gonna help them break through, my man?
Yeah. As you do, I come from a family of contractors, and it's deep in my blood. So, you know, we named the company the Contractor Fight because I truly believe that you got to win the 6 inches between your ears, right? And
Mhm.
so everything we do, all of the content we put out, all of the coaching we do, and the events we put on, and all that stuff, it's all rooted in just winning that battle. And we all tell ourselves stories, and you tell yourself something enough, you believe it, and then every one of us either acts or we don't act based on those beliefs. And then, your actions or lack of reactions will provide you the results that you want or you don't want. So we have a little acronym we call TBAR. Your thoughts lead to your beliefs lead to your actions get you the results. And so that's really the foundation of the name behind the fight. And um, yeah, been at it for little over a decade, just helping contractors in all different industries and helping them win the the grind that's out there. Win the fight.
Mhm.
Sadly, as you know, and your listeners probably know and can relate. Sadly, most of us when we start out as contractors, um, we we produce great work, we deliver a great service, we make some money, and then our business is often just like kind of a pass-through entity. All the money just passes through, and you're not left with what you think you were going to be left with, um, and that's we're just tired of seeing good men and women in the trades stealing from their families, because of their um, ignorance. And I don't mean stupidity; I mean ignorance. Like you just
Mhm.
don't know. And when I grew up, and sadly I hear this from time to time now, people are, that start in business, they're like, well, my grandfather said you figure out what it's going to cost you to do the job and you add 10% or some crap like that. And what we found is that um, running a business is a skill, and the minute you go into business for yourself, you have to take off that craftsperson hat. I'm not saying it isn't part of your life, but that's not your first role anymore. Your first role, and this first mindset shift is,
Yep.
going from being somebody that wears the tools to somebody that's developing their skills as a CEO. So that's the foundation of everything we do here, man.
So really, it starts with mindset, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it could be knowing the strategy, the skills. It could be just the confidence, everything like that. So, if you're a contractor that's newer and you're trying to build out your team, and you're actually trying to become, a business leader, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and transition from a contractor,
Mhm.
you know, and I've talked to a lot of people like this, and I know you have too. What's kind of like the first step in that? Is it learning the information? Is it understanding who to hire first? Is it like what do I do to get out of this cycle where I can actually become a real business that can maybe even run without me one day?
Yeah, well, and I'll start with this because most struggle with this. There are a few out there that have never had this issue that I'm about to share, and hats off to them. But the majority of
Mhm.
us do, where you've got to be really intentional about your beliefs around money and value and what you're worth and what the market will bear, and all
Yep.
that, because, I'd say the first thing to get your head around is just ignore the going rate. 90%, if
It's
not
hard.
more, of contractors have no clue what it costs to be in business, what it costs to, I'm asking your listeners right now, what does it cost for you to run your business for one day? And if you can't answer that right now, then you got some work to do. And that's your first assignment, is dig in. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is, how many days of cash do you have on hand? If you have, um, if you realize, and when I say cost to run your business, I'm not talking even your field costs. I'm just talking your overhead. Like if your overhead's 25 grand a month, just doing some math, and and it costs you, your overhead, say 2,100 bucks a day, you have 11, maybe 12 days worth of oxygen to survive. And so, and most companies don't have 2 weeks of cash in the bank.
Yeah.
We try to get people going, get to at least 45 days of cash. So that means if you didn't sell a job for the next 45 days, you wouldn't go out of business, because you could still pay the bills of the company, which are the overhead expenses. So just getting your money mindset right, ignoring, like I said earlier about the stories you tell yourself. Like if you tell yourself, like, customers only care about price, or there's no good people out there to hire, and all these things,
So
become
true.
beliefs, and we act or don't act on those beliefs. And I'm here to tell you that, we've had thousands of people through our programs. And I know general contractors building $1 million additions at a 50% gross profit because they fixed their
There's
money mindset. And when
wow.
everyone else in the GC world is like, oh, you can only get 20%. Well, that's a bunch of BS. And so, you got to fix that money mindset, and, look at the value that you're providing people, the safety, the security, the certainty. That is worth something. And so I really want to hit that home, that, that's a place to start. And we kind of have an acronym here. Of course, it's FIGHTER. And
SHIN FU?
what's that?
SHIN FU, right?
Well, SHIN FU is our sales process, but our acronym
Oh, okay.
FIGHTER is, you got to face the facts first. Where are you getting in the way? Where is friendly fire sabotaging your business? And
Yeah.
that friendly fire can show up in, if you don't know your numbers, if you don't develop your skills, if you're lazy when it comes to building your brand and marketing, if maybe you don't want to have tough conversations. So we call it owning your crap. It's really facing the facts. So you got to own
Yep.
your crap and look in the mirror and just go, how am I being the bottleneck? Maybe it's your lack of discipline. Maybe you're drinking too much. You're not working out, taking care of your body. You're not reading things. You're scrolling on Netflix. Whatever it is, just look in the mirror and own that, because there's no progress without truth. So once you face those facts, then it's time to invest in yourself.
Mhm.
Contractors, roofers will go out and they'll drop God knows how much money on a piece of equipment as an investment. But when it comes to, and it could be our program or anyone else's, but dropping, 10 grand a year, 15 grand a year to level up your skills as a business owner, they all of a sudden, hold on to their money like it's their last nickel. And I really believe that
So
is because
true.
they don't trust themselves to actually be disciplined and do the work. That's my theory, having done this and coached so many thousands of people. And then I think another big mindset place to start is getting ruthless with your time. That not we all have a lot of things on our quote unquote to-do list, but they're not all equal. Many years
Yep.
ago on my show, I interviewed a guy. If you ever heard of the book The One Thing, and
Yep.
great book. And I interviewed somebody from that company. He came on and he said something that stuck with me. I thought it was great. I'll share with you guys. He said, if something's going to end up on your calendar, it has to audition to be there. Like, think about
I
that for
love
a minute.
that.
Does it earn the right to get my best energy and my focus and my time? And so when you're ruthless with your time, and that's where we created our sales process, because it's all designed around saving you time. So you're not a paid or an unpaid proposal writer. Um,
Yeah.
you know, so dude, so much of this just comes down to um, just being super clear on what kind of life and business you want, and understanding that, you can't let the outside world tell you how much you're supposed to make. I mean, I've had I've had people be like, my God, that's bids twice as much as everybody else. We all get that. And they're like, how much is your profit? And I'm like, well, we're a 50% profit margin on all our work. And they about shit themselves, but
Yeah.
I'm just upfront about it. I'm like, you don't have to hire me. That's fine. But yeah, we stop listening to the noise around you. When I stopped listening to the noise and I started reverse engineering what I wanted my life and business to look like, that's when my life and business got a lot better. So,
Seriously, 100%. And for those out there, make sure you guys are going to thecontractorfight.com, right? And then if you go to thecontractorfight.com-50, then you can actually get a cheat sheet, right? So the contractor estimating cheat sheet that automatically calculates your 50% gross profit. Now, when you're looking at hitting 50% gross profit, obviously there's a lot of variables that go into that, right? I mean, first off, you got to be looking, I'm guessing, at, right, your lead costs. You got to know your numbers, right? You have to have a sales process that you're confident in, that's rinse and repeat. And you have to be confident enough in being able to sell projects at a certain price point, right? And not worry about, hey, there's not the right customer out there who's willing to pay this type thing. Is that kind of the components, or how would you put that all together?
yeah. So 50% gross profit is simply if it costs you $1 to produce something in the field. So say you're putting a roof on and it's your crew and your permit and your materials are 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You're not selling that roof for less than 20. That's what that means. You double your cost
Yep.
of goods sold. And that $10,000 buffer, that is if everything goes as planned, which we know it
Yep.
doesn't. But if everything goes as planned, you have that 10 grand left from that job to pay your overhead and work towards having a net profit. And so we always start
Really
with,
knowing your numbers
yeah,
and having the confidence to sell it that high, really.
yeah,
Those two, right?
yeah. And it's, sorry, this thing keeps dinging. There's somebody blowing up my text.
I told you we got a celebrity over here,
And
man.
I don't know how
told
to
you,
shut
dude.
it off on my
How many
computer
subs
without
you got on
breaking everything.
YouTube? How
So,
many subs you got on YouTube, man? How many subs you got? A lot. He's got quite a bit. I know that.
it's 80 something thousand. It's
Yeah, let's
for as long as
go,
we've been
dude.
doing it, it's not that many. So anyway,
Hey, that's great, man. That's not
I
easy.
alienate a lot of people, but so if you don't know your numbers, if you're working your butt off and you're not making what you want to make and what you
Yeah.
need to make, start with just, in the sheet that you referenced, plug in your costs, hit the button, it says charge this. And if you do that, you will make more money instantly on your next job. Now, I will say that a lot of people think that like that's the be all end all pricing strategy for a contractor. It's not. You'll get to a point in your business, I've got companies and things like that outside of the contractor fight where, one of them, our sweet spot's around a 42%. We can live there all day and make a shit ton of money. But for anybody that needs to just get themselves out of the financial gutter right now, 50% gross profit is the way to go because you will make more money. Now you probably will have a lower closing rate, but again, I'm a fan of, we are all about profit here in the fight. I'd rather do
For sure.
800 grand at a 50% profit and have 400 grand than do $1 million at a 30, right? Because you need less leads, less jobs, less people, and you have less
headaches.
chaos, right? So, and then as you get to know your numbers and your break-even points each month based on your overhead and your net profit goals and stuff, then you can adjust those things. But yeah, gross profit, you mentioned the YouTube channel. I'm just kind of thinking here, I get messages from time to time. We're like, you're an idiot. This guy's a knucklehead. He never talks about net profit. And one of the reasons I don't talk that much about net profit is because gross profit is the domino before net profit. And most guys don't have a high enough gross profit. And so that's why we spend so much time helping you get your gross profit up, because that's immediately more money right now. And just as an exercise for everybody, earlier I said, if your overhead was 25 grand a month, and that overhead, you guys, is everything that has to be paid in the business outside of your field labor and materials, right? So it's your overhead. It's your salary, office salaries, marketing, shop rent, I said marketing, your bookkeeper, accountant, CPA, whatever. Okay. All the things, the cell phone bills, whatever. So if your overhead's 25 grand a month and you're at like most contractors that come to us are at a 30% or so. So at a
Mhm.
30% gross profit, you got to bring in 83.3 a month just to
Yep.
zero out and not have any net profit versus a 50% gross profit. Instead of a 30, you need to bring in 50 grand. Okay. So it just
Mhm.
makes it easier. And again, at the 83 grand, um, if you're at 83 grand a month and say your average job size is 15,000 bucks, you got to do 5.5 jobs. And if your close rate is a 35%, you got to have 16 leads and you got to do, 6 jobs. Well, if you're at a 50% gross profit at 50 grand break even, you need 3.5 jobs and say the same closing rate, you need 9 leads. You
Mhm.
need less leads, less jobs
Yep.
to break even. So, but this is, you will never arrive at knowing your numbers because they're always going to evolve as your business evolves.
Yep. Now, so when you say 50%, I know you said, hey, that might change. You might have to
Mhm.
adjust it a little bit, right? But if you're in a money rut, right, start with that 50. So are you saying kind of that maybe the newer contractors or the contractors who don't maybe have as consistent cash flow and
Mhm.
profit margins start at that 50 and then as you scale could possibly go down a little bit, would you say? Or do you kind of expect it as you scale to like what do you expect there, I guess, in terms of scaling?
Yeah, there's certainly some industry benchmarks around this, so I want to be clear to put that out for everybody.
100%.
You
Depends
know,
on what trade you could
yeah.
be in and
I
everything
mean,
like
if
that.
you're if
Yeah.
you're if you're doing service work, HVAC, or we got guys doing we got a lot of contractors that build beautiful koi ponds and they have service packages. They're making 70,
Through
80%
the roof.
on that, right? And so um we're not looking for ways to sell at lower margins. We're looking how can we level up our skills to be paid in commensurate with the skills and the quality and the experience we give our clients. Okay.
Mhm.
When we sell anything in my companies below 50%, it's intentional. So I'll give you an example. We had a number of years ago, we had an in-house team for one of my painting companies, several in-house crews, like 4 or 5 crews. And then we had some subcontractor guys. Well, our goal every month was to fill the calendar with our in-house guys. And that was always at a 50% gross profit or more. And
Mhm.
then once that was filled for 4 to 6 weeks, any overflow that came in that was a simple job. That's the other thing. What's the risk of the project? Like as a painting contractor, we would get like um, bank owned properties that were a short sale. It's an empty house. They just want to coat a white, and here's the keys. You can do it over the weekend. I would sell those at
Mhm.
a 30, 35 all day and make another 3 grand in my pocket over the weekend by just going to unlock the door for one of my sub crews. So it's intentional. Or even with our
Low
in-house
risk.
crews, it just a lot of things. But I think a lot of people are always trying to find a way to charge less instead of trying to level up the value you provide and level up your sales skills, level up the way you build your brand and the way you message in your marketing that makes the case for you charging more than the other guys.
100%. And I want to ask you some more questions on the sales process side
Mm-hmm.
of things. And even the confidence builders, right?
Yeah.
Just like your personal habits and everything like that too. But before you do, I just wanted to ask you one question because we were talking about profitability with different trades, and you also mentioned like taking on extra jobs because they were low risk, really easy,
Mm-hmm.
right? What do you think about offering a big, like a, more than a few services, right? Different trades and stuff like that, right? Where maybe you're doing homes, you're doing remodeling, maybe you're doing roofing, you're doing painting and stuff like that. Do you have a kind of a general rule of thumb on any of that stuff, or do you not really worry about that stuff really?
So I think this comes down to how you're wired.
Mhm.
I would never be a GC.
Mhm.
Too many moving parts. Okay. Now, I have friends, we got people, some of my coaches, they're GCs, they're killing it. They're, 7, 8, 9, 10 million a year, high profits. They got it dialed in. It's cool. I like being more of a specialist because I think it's easier to brand and be known for something. Like if I were going to be a doctor tomorrow, I would be a knee surgeon before I was a general practitioner, right? Because knee surgeons, it's more specific. You can charge more. Experts make more money. I'm not saying you can't do that as a GC, but as a GC, you can niche into ADUs. You can niche into some specific type of project. Totally cool. What I do see often is contractors will, and I was one of them, by the way. The example I'll just give you an example. We had our painting company rolling outside of Chicago many years ago, before I sold it in 2012. And we had a really, the recession kind of kicked our ass a little bit, but we survived and we're actually profitable. But before that, I saw this opportunity out there. We were getting calls for like, hey, can you put in a screen door? Can you put a window in, hang some crown molding? So brilliant guy here decided to start a handyman division. And what all that did, and I did it going, oh, wow, look at all the opportunity over here, and thinking the grass was greener. And all it did was take our focus off of what we did best. So that's where I usually fire up a warning flare in the sky just to go, hey, if your core thing isn't kicking ass, and meaning kicking ass is you're at least $1 million a year, your profit margin's high, you got processes, systems, people running things, you're not a slave to the business, you could take a few weeks off and, not really be around or whatever, then yeah, if you want to open up another company or something. But what I often see is people will take a struggling business and go, I'm going to open up another location, or I'm going to add another division and do this. And it just dilutes your energy and focus because your core isn't strong. So that's my big caution there. And 9 out of 10, and same with partners, by the way. I have people all the time are like, in our coaching program, from time to time, a couple of weeks ago, I had this guy go, he's new to the program. He's struggling, like he's a week or two into the program, and he's coming in going, yeah, I'm going to partner with this guy in town. He's another landscaper or whatever the heck he was. And I'm like, well, tell me about your business. And he told me, and I said, tell me about his business. And he told me, and I'm like, dude, you're basically marrying two shitty businesses together, right? People think that, if I bring a partner on, it's going to solve my problem, where the real issue is you got to own your crap, start charging what you need to charge. And then instead of bringing on a partner, you could probably get away with bringing on a kick-ass operations person or a project manager or something like that. And you're not giving equity away in your business. So, a lot of people think the grass is greener. And I was one of them many years ago, 20 something years ago. So I get it. I get it. Cause we're entrepreneurial, right? We're like, hey, we're always looking for the shiny thing. So you have to have that discipline to, so I tell people, set some benchmarks before, like back, I had a guy, my show, about a year ago, helps remodelers with marketing and stuff. And he was talking about, like, if you were to open a remodeling company tomorrow, what would you do? And he said, I would there's this area here in Colorado Springs where we live called the Broadmoor. They got a 5-star hotel, and it's like, it's money. And, probably 1,000 houses or something. He says, I would call myself like Broadmoor Kitchens, and I would only do kitchens. And I would get known for one thing and become an expert in that and charge premium dollars, 100%. Then I would entertain. And what I'm saying here is, like, if I build you a kitchen, Nick, or say I put a roof on for you, right? And I also want to do siding or something like that. I put a roof on Nick's house. I'm not marketing for the siding. My marketing messaging and budget and focus is on roofs.
So dialed, right? Yeah.
And so, but my past customers or our current customers that we build relationships with, that's where I think you have some handouts or email marketing or whatever. You just go, hey, did you know we also do siding? We also do windows, or whatever it is. But I'm known for that one thing. I'm not trying to attract all the siding and window people. I'm building the roofing of the business. And then those current customers, because they've had a great experience with the roofing part of the business, they're more likely to give you a shot. And so, and those leads are damn near free. So,
but your marketing spend and how you're branding yourself is in that one expertise. And now you already have all these raving fans. and now you're telling them about what else you can have or
Yeah,
what else they can
yeah,
have.
like the Broadmoor Kitchens example. Like if I'm building you a kitchen and you happen to go, hey, do you guys do bathrooms? Of course we'll have that conversation. But if you went to the
Yeah,
website, it's all kitchens so that
yeah,
you're known for something.
yeah, 100%. And now, kind of, I want to ask you one more. Actually, it
Mhm.
kind of got me thinking. So, what are your thoughts on service work and repair? I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of it, but for me, I always look at it as a lead generation opportunity, high profit margin, stuff like that. But what's your thoughts there?
I love it.
Yeah.
I personally love it. I mean, I can count on 100 fingers and toes the number of 15, 20, $30,000 painting jobs we ended up getting because it started with painting a $300 powder room, right?
Yep.
Um, one of my old business partners here in the fight, and he's only old because he's retired now. He was in the water feature industry, and he told all the new pond builder guys, he says, don't do construction your first 2 years. And they were like, what? I want to build ponds. He's like, no, service. Pond openings, pond closings, monthly service calls, all that stuff. He's like, you're going to, and he's sold a couple different businesses, one in the water feature industry for a shit ton of money. And so this is his playbook is like, get in and get those service accounts because now you have recurring revenue,
Yep.
right? We all know that. Um, and that's also the thing that made his business worth something when he went to sell it was the recurring revenue. But his whole thing was get in there and repair ponds because a lot of the bigger landscape companies and pond companies don't like doing service. It's the same with roofing. I had a buddy outside of Chicago many years
Mhm.
ago. He was with a large roofing company in the area, and we'd refer work back and forth to each other when I had my painting business there. And I called him one day just out of the blue. We were talking. He's like, yeah, I quit my job. I started my own company. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm doing roofing. And I said, oh, what's your plan? He says, I'm just doing repairs. And for the first couple years, all he did was repairs. As a one-man operation, his first year, he did about 800 grand by himself.
High profit too, I bet.
Very high profit, easy work.
Hmm.
Because why? The bigger outfits don't want to be bothered by that. That's like mosquitoes or gnats. It's
Hmm.
like, so he
Exactly.
chummed up with all these guys that he knew from the industry and they threw him all his service work and he killed it. And then he started putting roofs on. But it
Hmm.
was a really good place to start. So I'm a fan of that. Um, I think when you're more, and I get why the bigger companies do it, like in our painting company and stuff, we'll do small jobs, but we got to do them on our terms, and they're usually more money than people want to spend because they're a pain in
Hmm.
the ass. We all get that. My
Yeah.
landscaper, who's amazing, I have gorgeous water features and walls and plantings. He flies all over the country doing landscape design for people and stuff. Like he's in high demand. Um, he doesn't do service, and I always give him shit about it. He's like, no, it fucks up our whole schedule and it's not our thing. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
get it, but I still think, the opportunist in me is like, I'm like, dude, I'm hiring like knuckleheads to come service the beautiful yard that you made
Yeah.
to come out, and
Yeah.
they don't know everything. But you know,
That's hilarious.
yeah, I could see some industries are great for service. Some are a little tougher. Like I said, if you're, I mean, all right, roofing. What do you
Hmm.
see for service there?
What do I see?
Yeah,
What do people want to do? You're saying, or what?
yeah. What service packages are you guys selling as roofers?
I mean, people don't want to do it really on the residential side,
Right.
right? I would still do like a 499, maybe once a year, 290, something, right? Just to kind of have them in the pipeline. But it's funny because your buddy did the service and just went all in on service for the year. That's exactly what I would do. So basically, like
Yeah.
my background for 6 years, we did this commercial sales automation company where we were connecting contractors to property owners, facility managers, property manager owners, you kind of name it, right? And so I was like, if I started something, what I would do is I'd go in there and I'd charge them maybe like 15.99, 14.99, whatever it is. We'd come out, twice a year. They get a discount on the repairs, right?
Hmm.
Et cetera, et cetera. They get these photos, they get these files, they get the insurance stuff because they say it's like 60 or 70%, right, of these commercial buildings. It's something ridiculous. need some kind of maintenance or service at that time. So my only goal is basically to get on the thing. If I can get on it, then I'm money. But people don't want to do that route though.
Yeah, I mean, I could see your roofers listening to this doing big roof jobs are going to laugh at this, but like, this is just how my brain works. I'm sitting here going, we had our roof done 3-4 years ago. Colorado, of course, it was hail damage. We had the roof done. A buddy of mine. You can contact me to hang my Christmas lights. You can contact me to clean my gutters, to do an inspection of the roof, you name it, right? The point here, get past all the low ticket shit that I just said. If you're listening to this and look at the big picture, I'm not after the transaction of today's roof. I'm after lifetime value of a client. So I couldn't even tell you the name of that company that did my roof. I know my buddy who did it, but let's say you take my buddy out of it, right? I wouldn't know who did the roof. I wouldn't remember the sales guy. I've gotten no communication sense. All right. I'm in a lot of circles. I'm doing a lot of things. Okay. Mm-hmm. You don't know if I own other homes. You don't know if I'm selling this and moving across town and it needs a roof. So to me, it's about the lifetime value of something. And that's what it's tough with, like general contractors, roofers, things like that, where it's like a one and done thing. Try to find other ways that you can stay in their world. Shit, in the book Sell Unafraid that you mentioned, that's sitting right here.
Yeah. On Amazon.
Yeah, we do this thing called unexpected intentional touches. UITs, we call them. And a UIT is simply this. If I do your roof last year, I'm going to text you this year. I'm going to go, Nick, it's Tom. We did your roof last year. Just thinking about you. I was wondering how it's looking. Hit me back when you get a minute. Have a great day. Send 3 of those a day, every working day of the year. You will generate between 30 and 40 more projects a year.
I believe that too. I believe that. I love that tactic
because I've seen it happen with every trade it's free. It's free. It's showing that you give a crap about somebody. You weren't just a one night stand. And so, so I'd be, I don't know if, there's roofers that can, and I'm not a roofer. So, it's like, I'm come from the paint industry. And so when people talk paint, I kind of laugh at them. So I'm sure you guys are laughing at me here with some of my examples, but like, can you offer a soft wash service every now and then in certain climates, right? Can you offer that gutter cleaning? Can you offer, an exterior inspection if you offer other services? I mean, just get back in front of these people. And then another big thing that we talk about in the book is called the warranty call, where we like to reach out to people a couple months before their warranty is expired, their labor warranty. And I know each industry has different warranties and stuff. You're not waiting 25 years or something to call them. But
right.
So like we have a 3-year paint warranty with the painting company I own here. But the manufacturer
remodelers too, if they do remodelers could do something like this.
So you could literally call somebody up and go, hey, your warranty's up in a couple months. And I wanted to schedule your warranty visit. And they're like, warranty visit? Yeah, we come out, we get up on the roof and we just put eyes on it to make sure that if for some reason, if there's any issues that, that have come about in the last year or two or whatever it is, we address those and they're our problem and not your problem. Now just pause right there and put yourself in the consumer's shoes. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. And now you're back in the yard, back at the home, having the conversation. And that's when we hear one of a couple things, one of 3 things. The first of the 3 things is, hey, it was really nice of you to come out and inspect this. Really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Right? Cool. Goodwill. The second thing we hear is, hey, while you're here, when you hear while you're here,
of course,
right?
Of course.
Can you look at this
That's
gutter
money
over here? Can you this, or, I got a rental down the road here, whatever it is. And the third is you get referred. Okay. So you're usually hearing one of those 3 things. And all of them are good outcomes. And this is, again, most companies run from warranty work, don't want to do it, don't want to be bothered with it, don't want to know about it. But when you proactively reach out, you are differentiating yourself from every other contractor out there. Okay.
It's interesting because I think most people are afraid to annoy their database, right? Of
Mhm.
customers. They don't want to follow up too much. They don't want to send all these messages, all that kind of stuff. But in all the examples that you've broken down, what you would say and kind of going through their response, it's very polite, it's very engaging, warm, right? And they're most likely going to give you some kind of additional value and they're going to be excited about that interaction. So if I'm overthinking this, right, how do I know I'm doing it properly and I'm not just annoying my customers? Or is that just a mindset thing where I need to get out of my own way?
It's a mindset thing, and you will. So I'll just get to the point. I've got all these things rolling through my head. In the sales process, we talk about it.
Yeah.
So, hey Nick, when you hire us to do the project for you, and we're all done and we're finished, you're going to get 3 automated communications from us via text and email. One's going to come at 3 days, one's at 3 weeks, and one's at 3 months. And then on the anniversary of your project for the next 3 years, this is how my company does it. We're going to come out and do a site visit to make sure everything's looking right. So we tell them in advance, and I'll even joke with them.
Yeah.
I'm like, those annoying automated messages that companies send out? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, we send those too. And let me explain them to you. And then they laugh and then they understand the why behind it because I'm communicating like, we just want to make sure that you feel taken care of. And this started for me 20 something years ago now. I sold a paint job, $30,000 project that a good friend of mine, his company did the job originally. So they painted the lady's house the first time. And I'm standing there in her kitchen and I'm like, hey, why didn't you call so-and-so back? Because I said, hey, looks like you had a really nice paint job here not too long ago. And she's like, yeah, it's a beautiful paint job, this and that. I'm like, who did it? And she told me, and I know the owner really well. And I said, hey, I just got to ask you, like, why am I standing here? And she goes, well, they kind of annoyed me. And I said, tell me more. I kid you not, man. So it was an older home, like built in the 80s. And there was a period of time where homes would, in the kitchen, on a wall of the kitchen, they would like do a built-in desk to like pay your bills and stuff. You probably remember those. And you slide the chair under the desk. Well, where you slide the chair in, I think her kid knocked over some Cheerios or something or whatever, and she was down there cleaning it up under that desk. They rolled under there, and she went to get them. She looked up. There was a strip of drywall about a foot wide and 3 inches high that they missed. And she goes, well, they missed a spot. Now, she was a Karen, all right?
Sure. Yeah,
right,
for
let's
sure.
get that out of the
But
way.
you're going to get those. You're going to get those.
But I said to her, yeah, I could see that's pretty easy to miss because it's like way up there. No human being would ever see it.
Yeah.
But it annoyed her. And I said, well, what happened when you called him to tell him about it? She says, well, I didn't want to be a bother. So she never even told him. And I know my buddy, he would have been out there himself. He was a multi-million-dollar company. He would have driven his ass out there himself for 10 minutes to paint the thing, right? In a heartbeat. And she just felt like she was being a bother, but it annoyed her. Had he had something in place at the time that was proactive, that probably would have come up, they would have addressed it, and I wouldn't have sold the job the second time.
Isn't that unbelievable?
So that's what I'm saying,
Something
guys. Like,
so small.
yeah, put yourself in their shoes. You know, we've all been consumers. You know, what are those
100%.
things that annoy you, especially with contractors? My God, hiring contractors is the biggest pain in the ass there is, man. You know,
so that's my thing. It's like, why wouldn't you want to be the contractor who just over communicates, right?
Yeah.
I do. I remember we remodeled our house and my dad hired somebody, right? And he couldn't get a hold of the guy. He would never show up on time, right? And it was just constant pain points, right? So it's like, if you're the person who's over communicating, I feel like there's very little risk there, right? Obviously, don't be spamming, but still at the same time, it's like if you're over communicating, you're over organized, everything like that. That's a winning factor right there.
Well, but it's the way you tell them you're going to do it. Like, you know, hey, Mary, listen, can I share with you what's going to happen after the project? Sure.
Yeah.
we have some things in place. Some are automated and some are not. Over the next
Mm-hmm.
several weeks, months, and years, where we're going to stay in touch with you, because one of the biggest complaints we hear is that contractors don't listen. We don't communicate well. And my business, like anyone else's business, from time to time, we might have a bad day. We might miss something. We want to know about it because you hired us to do a job. We want to do the job. And without any ill will, sometimes we make a mistake or something's not up to par. So please, will you commit to letting us know if there's ever anything there? And you don't have to reply to the messages. You can just delete them or give a thumbs up or a fist bump, whatever it is. We just want you to know that we're going to proactively stay in touch with you. And 100% of the time, they're cool with it. Right.
Yep.
So, in fact, some of my best clients unsubscribe from my emails, and then they'll text me and they'll go, I know who you are. I got the emails. We're good. I don't need the
Yeah.
automations anymore. I'm like, cool, makes sense. But I'll still send you ITs every now and then. I'll still do warranty calls. And this, some contractors might be listening to this and going, I don't know how I could do all that. Well, guys, this is a system thing, right? What is your system for keeping relationships warm long after you do the project? Okay. You put a system in place. You don't have to go hire a full-time person. You can hire a VA. My first VA started at 5 hours a month.
Yeah.
Like an hour and a quarter a week is what I was hiring her
Yeah.
to do. And then it worked into a full-time position and a career for her. But,
Yeah.
but the point is, if you want to differentiate, if you want more leads and sales, and this is what you mentioned our leads on demand course before we hit this thing. Our leads on demand course covers these things, like more in depth. But there's so much, guys, there's so much money in your database right now that you're not even tapping into.
So
you're
much
chasing
in the
after
database.
the new leads. We're chasing after the new leads.
100%. And I just want to say, so you guys can go to contractorfight.com/courses to check those out.
Mm-hmm.
But you're 100% right? Because I was in the lead game, the sales automation game. And I think I just got so frustrated with the operational side and what people are doing with their database, what their operations look like with their different tech stack and workflows and everything like that. And when I sold my last company, I was like, dude, I just need to attack this stuff, right? 'Cause this stuff was just bugging me that much, right? You guys are sitting on a gold mine, right? And that's why all this customer data is so important, because if you're utilizing it right, you're getting reviews, you're getting referrals, you're getting repeat business, right? You kind of name it, it goes on and on, where they can continue to add value back to your business, right? So you got to be diving into that for sure. Now, I do want to make sure, and I appreciate all the time, I do want to make sure we go into some of the sales side stuff here, right? At a confidence standpoint, everything like that. So for me, a lot of these contractors, they start to scale and they build out these sales teams. And so it's so crucial, not only them, but their entire processes, organization, the training, everything like that is dialed in. So let's say that we're a remodeling company. We do interior remodels. We're really known for kitchen and bath. And I'm working on my sales process. I want to get it up to where, hey, I'm doing these 50% gross margins or gross profits. I want to make sure that I have the confidence to do this, right? So we're talking about my habits, my appearance, my presentation, right? All that kind of stuff. What does this look like? Can you give me some advice here?
Sales happens at an emotional level. Most contractors are a bunch of proposal writing order takers. Okay. A number of years ago, I spoke at a big roofing event. Actually, I'll leave names out.
Really?
I'll leave names out of it. The dude who put it on invited me to come, and I was the first speaker. Before I got on stage, someone from his company got up with him, and they were introducing me. But for about 7 to 10 minutes, they talked about the importance of writing proposals. Proposals are no good unless they're on somebody's kitchen table, was what one of them quoted. They literally talked for 7 to 10 minutes about write proposals, write proposals, write proposals. It's a numbers game, blah, blah, blah. My talk was on sales, and I opened it. It was only a 20-minute talk. It was really quick and punchy. They introduced me. There's 500-600 roofers in the room, and I get on the stage, and I stand there for about 5 or 6 seconds in silence, and everyone's kind of looking at me, and I'm like, well, this is fucking awkward. And I hit my first slide, and it literally said, "You're not in the proposal writing business." And I went on to explain that, we teach a process that is designed to eliminate the tire kickers and the non-serious buyers before you ever set foot on their property. What I'm not saying, you guys, I'm not saying don't go see people. I'm not saying if you have a process now that's kicking ass and you're hitting your goals and you're happy and this and that, don't fix what isn't broken. I want to be very clear on that. However, the majority of contractors in all different trades spend an ungodly amount of time driving around, meeting with people that are not a good fit. And so that's our SHIN FU process was kind of born out of that. It's named after my former partner who retired, named Steve Shinholzer. It's a whole long story.
Shout out.
But he, and it's 5 steps, and it's all a pre-qualification call. This can be done in person. I mean, if you don't want to, and let me say this, if you have a larger company and a sales team and your salespeople have nothing to do but sell, then you probably don't need to do this. Okay. Because that's all they have to do. But if you're an owner operator, you still work in the field here and there, you're wearing a lot of hats, your time is limited. The last thing you want to do is spend an hour or 2 of your life jacking around with somebody who's not a good fit, right? And who's going to ghost you. How many times have you gone out there and, oh, they really liked me and it was great, and you missed your kid's ball game, or you went at 3:00 on a Sunday because that was the only time they could meet you, or whatever other bullshit out there, just to get. And then they don't reply. They ghost you after you hit send, after you negotiate the price between you and yourself at 11:00 at night, before you send the proposal. Then you follow up, and now it's like they're in the witness protection program. You can't find them. And so this is designed to get your time back, but it's also to take the temperature. And it starts, step 1, we call the motive. People buy for their reasons, not our reasons. We can all list 1,000 reasons why we think somebody should hire our company, but if they don't align with their reasons for buying, then you're going to miss the connection that's built through empathy. Okay. Step 2 is we move into the budget. Hey, based upon what you've told me that is important. So, we'll have them describe the project. And some trades are easier. Like if you're doing landscape and kitchens and stuff, it's much easier to go, hey, Nick, wave a magic wand over the space here. What do you see? Right now they're dreaming with you versus like selling a roof. I don't know. I can't see the fucking thing. Right. So but everyone has their own motive for buying though. And the things that are important to them. Sometimes it's speed, right? It's rarely price, by the way. It's rarely price alone. In fact, studies say that price is like 6th, 7th, or 8th on the list. Okay. Which is why we want to have this conversation. So once we get the motive, I'm going to say, hey, Nick, based on what you're telling me, this is important to you, this, and this. Are you cool if we talk about what the investment for a project like this might run? And they say, sure. And I'm like, well, listen, go third party. This is called bracketing. We have clients like you in your position or with a similar situation that want to pull out all the stops and get the X5000 shingles, roofing system, whatever the highest high level, replace all the, the plywood up there and all that other stuff, what I'm saying? And you add shit onto it. Like you just build the shit out of the scope with the highest end products. We're going to put new soffit fascia and gutters with it and this and that. And something like that, you might be 60, maybe down to $50,000. And you shut up for like a second. Sometimes they just go, oh, okay. Or another option is we don't need to use the X5000, this and this and this. We could put a nice roof on you, just replace whatever's, suspect up there instead of doing the whole thing, whatever your scope is. And you might be looking at 30, maybe 20, 25, 22,000, somewhere in that. And then here's the key question. Which of those conversations does it make sense for us to have? They will guide you to what their budget is 100% of the time when you bracket. So then once they commit to a bracket, say they go, we're good with, if we could be around that 25 to 30, we're good. And I'll say the next transition is step 3, which we call the truth, is at some point we got to go out there and put eyes on the thing and look at it and do our thing, right? If you go out there, this is why step 3 is it's crucial. A lot of people skip it. I will say, so Nick, you're cool 25 to 30. You go, yeah. I go, okay. If you were to invite me out, can I tell you what will happen then? And you'll say, yeah. And I say, well, listen, I'm going to get out. I'm going to inspect the property, the roof, whatever I'm looking at. On rare occasion, I get out there, and I want you to know it's really rare because it is. And I'll see a game changer that's going to prevent me from keeping it in that 25 to 30 grand mark. It might be access. It could be a number of things, right? In the event that I run into something that's going to prevent us from doing that, are you cool if I just call a timeout and we discuss what our options are and how we want to address this? If you skip that step, if you say 25, 30 and they go cool, and you go out and you come off the roof and you go, hey, it's 36. Now you're the typical sales guy that's baiting and switching and playing games, but you vanguarded it by saying, sometimes we run into something. And then step 4 is decision makers. We call it the influencers. So somewhere in there, I'm going to be like, hey, Nick, who else is excited to do this kitchen? Oh, that's my, that's my mother-in-law. Like, shit. Okay. You never know. Right. So,
Yeah.
Just for my notes, what's your mother-in-law's name? And it's Mary. Okay. What's Mary's role in this whole thing? Well, she's actually paying for it. So now, okay. So like but you just want to make sure. And then step 5, we call the BS meter, which is a consultation fee that if you go, yeah, come on out, write it up. And I'll go, hey, if I get out there and, one of 2 outcomes is going to happen. You're going to give me $500 for a consultation fee for telling you exactly what I told you on the phone, or you're going to give me a deposit check. Okay. And I'm flying through these. There's a lot more massaging and empathy and ways to do it. But what we find is that over and over and over, the contractors that commit to this, they're saving 40, 45, 50% of their quote estimating time, because they're only going out to meet with people that are a good fit. And now they've freed up God knows how much time.
Hundreds of hours a year.
Yeah, probably, it is. Honestly. I mean, we've had a few people track it through the years, and like one guy was like, I've saved 2 months of 8-hour work days not going to see people. And then he's like, now I have time to work on my marketing and create content and train my team and recruit and all the things that we push off because we're running around being everyone's little bitch in the sales process. So
we don't even think about it, right? Like we just jump in our truck, we drive out there, right? And it's funny because I was going to ask you if you have them pay for the estimate, which you kind of mentioned right there that you do, which I love, right? That's one that I try to push, but I'm a little bit more hesitant because, I don't know the name of the game quite there. Yeah. Financing, I was going to ask you about too. And then also, I just want to confirm, you did all of that on the phone, right? That was like basically a new inquiry or whatever, a phone call. And that was all on the first conversation, basically.
Yeah. And here's, I should have started with this. The root of this is that if you don't have a sales process that you follow every time, and say you have 300 leads a year, you're on 300 different sales processes.
Yeah.
So you have to get them, the prospects process does not serve us.
Yep.
Okay. And so there's so many nuances to this. And you mentioned confidence several times earlier. Sales is about connection and confidence. Confidence comes from putting the reps in. We're fanatical in our programs about role plays. And, just stacking those. We have a whole belt system like martial arts, white belt, all the way up to 3rd degree black belts of role plays. And what we find is the more role plays you do, the more money you make. It's that simple. And so the consultation fee, I don't recommend a lot of people start with that until they're comfortable with the other 4 steps, because tonality and spirit of the conversation throughout the whole thing sets the table for that. But I have a new sales guy earlier this spring. I heard him, he's kicking ass in my painting company here. And I told him, I said, the first 2 months, I said, you're going to go out and run every bid like you don't know our process. Cause I need you to feel the pain of why we do it. And then
that makes sense to him.
And then the next month or 2, whatever it was, I said, now you're going to do the SHIN FU on the phone, but I don't want you charging a consultation fee. Because you're not good enough yet. Because I've seen so many people have a great connection with somebody and they blow it because their tonality is off. They haven't done enough role plays. The goal is not to get the consultation fee. The goal is to weed out the bullshitters.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've got some people that they charge one on every one they do. I got some people that don't charge it at all because they do the first 4 steps so well, they weed people out. I will say that the more senior people in our program that have been doing this for a while and committed to it, they're like 90, 95, and some of them, this is no bullshit, 100% close rate when they get in their truck and they go to somebody's house. Because they've pre-qualified so strongly. Most people think pre-qual is, do you need or want what I have? Do you live in my zip code? And are you still breathing? Right? Like that's pre-qual, and that's not pre-qual. We'll handle objections on that call. So one of my go-to questions of getting the motive right out of the gate will be, if you called my painting company and I were selling, I'd pick up the phone and I'd be like, so Nick, how's the hunt for a painter going? Right? And you might be, well, you're the 7th company that we've called. We've already got 4 bids. We're going to get 3 more. And I'm like, okay, so you already got those 4 bids. Like, just out of curiosity, why haven't you hired one of them? And I'm like, to me, that's a red flag. I'm not going out there, but I'm going to be respectful and I'm going to basically make it their idea to not invite me out. So,
and it's basically the way you're saying it though, too, right? I think that's the biggest thing is I think people are scared to ask those questions.
Yeah.
And they want to know the answer, but they're not building the rapport and the connection, right? And don't have the tonality, like you mentioned, to be able to ask those questions and get the right responses. Because the way you're doing it is so like nonchalant, like, of course I'm asking these questions type vibe, right? Like these are the questions we're all wondering about, right? Where I feel like they kind of lower their guard and they're actually giving you legit responses and you're getting all the information you need.
You said the R word, rapport. My first sales job gazillion years ago, the way they taught rapport was you go in and you look for something that you can find common ground on. Oh, you have a fish on the wall. Do you fish? I fish too. And all that other bullshit, right? Or they're wearing a Florida hat and you're like, oh, you like the Gators? I like the Gators too. That is not rapport. Rapport happens when somebody is talking about their favorite subject, which is them.
Yeah.
Okay. So the more open-ended questions you're asking, we call it peeling back, like the banana, peel the onion, get to the real motive behind the project. So I had a story in the book that I tell about this guy named Scott who many years ago, and I'm standing in his foyer and I'm like, so, hey, why am I here today? He's like, well, the last guys that painted the job, this and that. I'll spare you the whole story. Bottom line is he hired me because I asked enough questions about the experience his wife had when he had the house painted the last time. And it was a nightmare. And he picked the painter. And when he got back into town, she made him sleep on the couch like for 2 nights because she was pissed at him because he'd call home every night. He was traveling and he's like, and dude, that was his motive. He wanted to be sure that his wife didn't have to spend any time babysitting freaking grown men in their home. That was the motive. Like that was, and I'm like, and I ended up saying to him, I said, well, Scott, listen, if I wrote into the contract that if your wife spent 1 millisecond of her existence cleaning up after my team, if she spent 1 millisecond, the whole job would be free. What would happen next? He goes, job's yours. And I said, okay, I'm happy putting that in. He goes, fine, the job's yours. I said, Scott, I haven't even walked through the house and measured anything yet. He's like, I don't care. I'm like, houses like in this neighborhood are like 25 to 30 grand. He's like, Tom, I don't care. You're my guy. That's what happens when you connect with somebody at a deeper level. And the other big mistake contractors make when they do this is why I say the role plays are important is we all default to our comfort zone when we're under stress. So if a customer says something to us, we're going to default to our comfort zone, which is usually running our mouth about shit that doesn't matter, telling people how great we are, or we go technical. And the way we teach sales is you don't go technical. When somebody calls our painting company, Emilio, my sales guy, he doesn't go, oh, what do you want painted? They'll say, we want the interior painting. He doesn't ask if they want the ceiling, the walls, what kind of paint, what sheen. It's none of that. We'll get to that later. We got to connect first. And once you do that, it's game over. It's game over.
I absolutely love that. And guys, I want to make sure everybody heard that. Role play, role play, role
Mhm.
play. You know, all athletes, they watch the film, they run through, you know, their different drills
Mhm.
and their practices, they run the plays. But for some reason, you know, in business, we just don't do that. But it is clearly one of the big keys to rinse and repeat success, right? Going through those actual
And let
situations.
me hit you guys with this real quick for those that are on the fence with role plays. And sales is a skill. You are not born a salesperson. Okay. If
Hmm.
I'm talkative, and my mom was always like, oh, he could sell iced Eskimos and he's a talker. Sales is not about talking, it's about listening. Okay.
Hmm.
And so, but my point is, sales is a skill, just like, hitting a golf ball or shooting a weapon. It's a skill that it's also a perishable skill that if you're not working on it, it diminishes. So I want to frame it like this for you guys. You guys are dropping 5, 10, 20 grand a month on marketing. You're trying to get the phone to ring. Okay. You're obsessing over the messaging of your branding and your campaigns and all these other things. You're like, and then the phone rings and then you go out there unprepared. How stupid is that?
So true, though.
Right? Like how stupid, even if you're not using what I'm talking with the pre-qual on the phone, even if you're sending your reps out there and they SHIN FU in person when they're there and create the connection, which is great, you're wasting that money because it's like you're not practicing leading up to the Super Bowl. Because to me, every time the phone rings with a lead, that's like a playoff game to me.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Like it's showtime. This is what we bust our ass for, is to get the phone to ring. And then to
Hmm.
send somebody out or to go out and you're not practiced and your skill isn't developed. And there's 4 levels to learn a new skill. There's unconscious incompetence, which means you suck and you don't know it. Okay. And
Hmm.
then
Been there.
you get some awareness around it. Now you're consciously incompetent. Okay.
Yep.
But you keep working and practicing role playing. Then you move to conscious competence, where I'm good at this thing, but I have to really try. And then you reach mastery, which is unconscious competence, which is
Beauty.
its second nature. It's the guitarist on
Hmm.
stage shredding a crazy guitar solo and leaning over and having a conversation with the sound guy. That's mastery. That's what happens in the sales
That's
process.
art.
Like what I know about our process, it's so I can't undo it. Like when I role
Hmm.
play with some of our students and stuff, and I'm the customer, I have to work really hard to not use our process back because it's so ingrained in me. It's harder for
I
me to be
love that.
a client than it is the actual contractor in the sales scenario because it's so
It's
deep in your
crazy
bones.
because contractors, they want, you know, sexy. We think ego, we think revenue, right? We think
Mhm.
some, you know, it's too sexy sometimes. And, you know, fundamentals like this, it's interesting because they're so high level intelligence, but it's still so fundamental in terms of bringing it down, how we analyze this, right? I mean, it's almost looking at like a painting and just analyzing the sales
Mhm.
process as just a thing of beauty. You you know what I'm saying? So it's like stop trying to be so sexy and focus on these fundamentals and just refine them and just drill them in. And you know, one thing that Tom mentioned too is he was talking about how he implements some of this stuff. And it's like, hey, at first, you know, we're only going to do this on the call and then
Mhm.
we're going to do this on the call, right? But at first, I have to make you earn your stripes. And it's one of those things where I think we get so hard on ourselves when we're trying to learn new things and we're trying to implement things and they need to be right now, right? Because it's everything's so high stress and, you know, fast
Mhm.
paced and you're trying to keep up. Like, give yourself some credit, right? So, like, implement it slowly and celebrate your wins and give yourself some freaking credit too when you're doing this stuff, right? And make sure you're linking up with a guy like Tom. You guys got to check him out at thecontractorfight.com, right? And check him out on YouTube. I mean, he brings the bombs, man. If I can entertain you at all, I know this dude's channel will for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that, man.
100%. Hey, Tom, you've been an absolute pleasure, man. Great connecting with you. Like I said, make sure you guys are hitting him up. But everybody out there, man, I appreciate everybody's time. I really appreciate your time.
You got you. Thanks, Nick.
That was awesome, man.